Hello, 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 hello. Alrighty. A bit of a personal update for everybody who kind of is on the channel. Folks, we have hit 10 subs. Woo! Yeah, I know, it doesn't sound like much in the long run, but I'm looking at the numbers right now, and we are at 15 subs, and yay. I mean, you know, you see these channels talking like, oh, we hit 1,000 subs, 6,000 subs, 500,000 subs, 1 million subs. Well, we here at the Graveyard Shift, we've only hit 10 subs. But you know what? Celebrate every milestone. I mean, we currently got, 15. We're like 5 away from hitting 20. And, I think that's just great. That's kind of going to be our next goal. Now, I probably don't do the whole shilling as much. Everybody always tells everybody at the end of the videos, if you like the content, subscribe, hit the bell icon, like the video, and all that fun stuff. I really don't do that. I probably should, because it means that, it's kind of that general reminder to do this one, but I don't know why, it's not really my style. I know people are going to do it anyway if they really like one of the content. But the biggest thing that really would really helps channels like mine grow is share the videos, guys. Maybe that needs to be my shill. Everyone's talking about like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all fun stuff. Maybe what I should do instead is say, hey, if you like the content, share the videos, get the word out there. That's really, I think, maybe what will help me grow. Yeah, fuck it, I'll probably change it to do this one. So yeah, if you like the content, share it. Share it with everybody you know. And then let them figure out if they like it and share that content as well. That's what I want to see. Yeah. Alrighty, so kind of in honor of that, we got something a little bit different today. I suppose from the usual spiel. I was a bit of a fucking dumbass. I hit refresh when I shouldn't have, and I kind of lost it, which is a big fucking sad. Yeah, big sad. But we're gonna talk about something a little bit different. I know I sit here and I usually talk about political stuff and whatnot, but today we're gonna talk about something near and dear to my heart. So, sure, everybody probably recalls Doki Doki Literature Club, DDLC, which I played. I am a big fan. I do have the Monika Afterstory mod installed, and I spend time with my dearest Monika. Yes, I'm a big fan of Monika. Can't help it. She's cute. But, I'm a part of some of the DDLC servers, and it's kind of, a big and bug thing within the 501st. Oh, speaking of which, I did get permissions from that one, so expect to see the antics of some of the boys in the 501st Arma 3 Star Sim unit. I'm trying to get the fucking recording set up so I can do this one, and y'all can watch a bunch of people in Clone Armor be a bunch of goofballs. I was running around giving one of the medics a prostate exam, and my Sergeant Major went dancing in the rain, the steel rain, and he got nailed by one of them. It was fucking glorious. Oh, we all had like a porg cookout, and my platoon leader got funky on the dance floor and whatnot. It was fucking great. Wish I'd been able to record it so y'all could see what a bunch of goofballs we get up to be. So yeah, look for that in the future. That's probably going to be produced weekly, because that's when operations and whatnot take place. And when I get more time away from my personal life, getting everything sorted, you'll probably see more content from Fun Ops and whatnot. Right, getting back to the issue with the DDLC. So I'm in a couple of servers there, and somebody alerted us to this one post on the DDLC subreddit, which was a subreddit mainly for DDLC as a whole. And it looks like the user deleted themselves as well. Big lol. But it was stupid. I should have gotten a screenshot of it so I could actually share it out there. But the title itself is that they were concerned about Monika's fandom. And this is where I look at this and I kind of have to tilt my head as to go, what the hell is this motherfucker going on about. And if you search it up, you could probably find a lot of the responders to this post are the same way. But one of the things that this post goes on to do, and because of the language, makes me think it was the usual people that the usual suspects I oppose here. I talk about not being a fan of. But what the overall gist is this. So this person is basically saying, people who are fans of Monika, known as the Monikins, on the DDLC Reddit, they're sitting, they say that they're worried about the behavior of the Monikins and how they, how their collective energy could be used as some sort of elitism. Like, they think themselves better than everybody else, and they're afraid, that they're going to collectivize in our desire to make Monika real and going to pull off some crazy shit. Now, this kind of goes into collectivist behavior. And somebody looking upon this, I see this as kind of a win if this were the case. Like, if we got together with our maniac energy and we created, at least an AI in the image of Monika, I think everybody would be, fairly happy about that. But here's what baffles me and why this person is very clearly on the wrong side here. They start to go on and say, I am afraid of these people. Specifically because, and he goes on to compare it, to say that because it has been the result of some bad things in history. And he starts listing off a few things. Now, the things that he has listed off as to kind of this maniac energy what can happen when people collectively get together is, he says, I'm afraid that these people are going to basically recreate all these bad things in history, such as the Crusades, World War I, World War II, or 9/11. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. A bunch of people who are very lonely individuals and see a 2D representation of what they're missing in life are going to basically become Nazis, is what this post was saying. Again, I don't have a fucking screenshot. I wish I'd remembered to save that so I could at least read it off to you here. But it was the stupidest thing I had ever managed to read. Alright. Now, in regards to the basic premise behind this idea that a bunch of people can come together as a collective and do both great evil, great harm, as well as great good, great marvels, is not wrong. Like, the basic premise behind that is where it is. The problem with this one individual and where they're coming from is that they seem to believe that the fans of Monika will basically come together and create the next great evil, which is just stupid. If you look at a lot of the examples that he listed out, basically talking about Holy Crusades, 9/11, World War I, World War II, all this other stuff, the individual in question is missing a lot of the context behind what caused those events to necessarily pop off. In a lot of those, in a lot of those conflicts, one side had believed that they had been wronged by the other, and basically decided that peace was not going to be an option. Peace was never an option. Peace was never an option. Insert here. I don't see that when it comes to, say, the obsession with Monika. When you have something like that, that is more akin to the race to the moon. That it was an inherently, I would say, an inherently positive thing that came about because of that same maniac energy in a collective manner. To really put things into context that I'm sure everybody is familiar with, if everybody remembers Anonymous versus the Church of Scientology and what happened there. Basically, hacker group, hacker 4chan Anonymous. God, I can't say it with a straight face because these people don't really understand what Anonymous truly is. I mean, yeah, I was part of 4chan back in the day, a while ago. Just kind of briefly there, just kind of going in there, and I kind of immersed myself in that. But all these people talking about Anonymous, and they tried. The thing about Anonymous is that Anonymous is a collective. That's what it truly is. But you've got everyone talking about Anonymous as if they were like a single entity. It's fucking hilarious. At just how stupid everyone is about the topic of Anonymous. Right. Stuff like that. Ultimately, I see this as kind of the greater good. So, no, I inherently disagree with this individual as to why, Monikins are not going to be the next Fourth Reich or whatever the fuck it is. See, when you're using language like that, you know what this tells me? This tells me that this person is a progressive. They're on the wrong side here because they're basically trying to stir the pot, and they're basically looking for their next Nazi to fight against. And what happens is that pretty much all of the responses thus far to this topic have basically been to turn around and punch him in the face. It's like, no, you're being a retard. And this is exactly why I don't, think that this kind of delusion is going to be a reality. Because the thing, especially with that particular subreddit, and I think the culture as a whole, is that, of course, you're always going to have those fringe elements that would say that Monika is the best choice out of the available choices of DDLC. And there's 4 girls in total. You have Monika, Sayori, Natsuki, and Yuri. And all of them have their own respective fan bases. They have their respective individuals who prioritize them over the rest. And yeah, you're always going to kind of get those, those troll individuals or people that are just bored, looking to stir up the pot. Basically just kind of creating those flashpoints where it becomes a mini war between the two sides of the fandom. But for the most part, at this point, the general consensus among, I would say, even the fandom of DDLC as a whole, has, after the first initial kind of spats, it's basically kind of settled down into a whole, hey, we can all agree to disagree. Everybody has their favorites, but we love all the girls, all the time, and none of them are inherently or objectively better than the other. It's all subjective on who your favorite is, and we can all respect each other. And for the most part now, whenever those flashpoints kind of start up, it's all in good fun. And when somebody legitimately tries to start shit, the entire community as a whole will rise up and slap them back down. This is why, I inherently disagree with this individual, and I think that they are absolutely 100% wrong in thinking, that the Monikins are going to be the next Nazis. Because even if we do have that fringe group of extremists that kind of creates this kind of Monikin supremacy in there, the community as a whole, including the majority of Monika's own fans, are immediately going to turn around, call him out, slap him down, and, oust him. from the general community as a whole and say, we disown these people. Do not listen to them. They're fucking retards and they're crazy. And I think, this is where, when it looks more towards the progressive ideology, is an interesting thing. And this is where I think this person actually it is. They're a progressive looking for their next Nazi to cancel. Is specifically because when it comes to things like the progressives, the fringe left, and all that other stuff out there, is that the moderates and individuals leaning more towards the center are not willing to call out those crazies and disown them. If anything, they prop them up. And now it's effectively too late to, start disowning them. Because if they do, then they get disowned by the radicals who are now in charge. The lunatics are now running the asylum. And because you did not call them out initially, they have that power now. They're the ones in charge. Now they're calling the shots. You can't call them out and disown them. They disown you. That's part of where we're seeing the whole walk away. I didn't leave the left left me kind of movements going on there. Now, there is kind of a wider thing here going through further the topic, and that's also kind of in the initial post as well. The idea behind waifuism, 2D being superior and whatnot into and of itself. Again, this is a kind of a direct correlation to what's going on in real life. What we have now is effectively the majority, I would say, definitely the majority, if not closer to, say, the entirety of the entire Western female populace, basically pricing men out of the dating market. I think we've all heard about, the 20-80 rule, that 80% of the women will only go after, like, will only be, Fuck. I know what the concept is. I'm having trouble listing out here. The top 20% of all guys will get 80% of all the female attention. So, that top 20 alpha Chad will get 80% of all the women. And then that kind of goes exponentially as we go do so. So you've got, top tier alpha Brad Pitt, Chris Pratt, handsome, rugged, tall, makes like 7, 8, 9 figures a year. James Bond, worldly type, everything. 80% of all women only see those types of guys. They don't see regular average Joes like you or me. Like, we are effectively invisible to them. We are not the guys whose attention they want. And so that's why they look at us like we're rapists, creeps, and all that fun stuff. So what about the next level down? All the 7-9ers, the white collar workers and whatnot. The senior level managers, people that are making like roughly 6 figures a year. They're not they're not billionaires or anything. They may be millionaires if they invested wisely, but they're high middle class. They're better off than most of us. Like, that's the next 20%. Well, what remains of the total percentage of women, the 80%, is just the remaining 20%. 80% of them are only interested in that top 20%. So if we're looking at the 20s there, which means out of the total ones there, the math is kind of hard. Let me think. Yeah, fives will do it. All right, so out of the total original 100% of all women, for the next 20% of guys, the 7 and 8ers, they're going to get 15% of that one. So now you've got 60% of guys left in the world to basically fight over the remaining 5%, and it gets worse than there. So the next 20% of, you know, guys down the list of that one, you know, the fucking Sixers, you know, at this point we're looking at the crossover between, you know, white collar and blue collar, you know, like the office workers and whatnot, the people who are, you know, not doctors. Doctors would be closer, I think, like 6 and 7s and whatnot, you know, the high earners. But, you know, people that are kind of upper middle class getting down towards the regular middle class. They've got only 5% to fight over. And 80% of that, you know, that's 4% right there out of the grand total of that one. So that's 4% of a total women only to go to this next 20%. So now you've got like the remaining 40% of all men fighting over, you know, having to compete for the remaining bottom percent. And when all is said and done, by the time it gets down to like the bottom of the rung, you know, the guys who are, you know, not lucky on life and whatnot, and, you know, by the time we get down towards the bottom, there's nothing left. Absolute nothing left. Now, you know, when it comes to things like MGTOW and, you know, trying to give advice to those guys that, you know, the incels like myself, you know, all right, let's make this one thing clear again. Yes, I am an incel by the traditional definition, which is effectively somebody who, for all intents and purposes, cannot win over female sexual affection at all. Like, do I want a sexual relationship with a woman? Yes. Is it going to happen? No. It's not within my control, you know. When things like that happen, you know, there's an entire industry for guys like me who basically come out and say, oh, you just need to go to the gym, you need to have a better attitude, you need to focus on yourself, you know, make yourself happy and whatnot, and, you know, everything will fall else in the line. Well, that's all well and good. But is that really going to help me in the long run? I mean, as somebody who feels like I wasted my 20s, because it's, you know, that's kind of where I am in life, is I don't really think it really helps anybody. But, you know, again, this is me in a depressive spiral, trying these, you know, these methods, and it doesn't really seem to be working for me. Nothing I do seems to work. And that's kind of where we're at. So you've got this entire, you know, swath of guys, you know, like the 60% who are just looking at these remaining 5% of women out there, and a lot of us are going, there's going to be a lot of losers here. You know, there's going to be a lot of people who just cannot seem to attract any sort of female attention. Again, because the women of today are so damn picky, and they have access to, you know, they actually have access to all these top tier guys that, you know, those of us, you know, they kind of have to hit the wall before they start settling for any of us down here on the bottom. And then by then it's, you know, by then they're dried up, they're not really worth anything, and you can't have kids with them. So there goes any chance at, you know, a legacy for those of us at the bottom. And it's really depressing when you know, when you look at it from a perspective of a guy like myself who's down there at the bottom. It's a pretty bleak future for us. So that kind of leads us to where the whole idea of waifuism comes into. It's kind of that desperate that hope of a drowning man looking to get out of the water. You know, if the 3D women aren't going to pay any attention to us then you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna move on to the women that will pay attention to us. And if that's 2D, then so fucking be it. And there's been a lot of naysayers towards this movement. You know, there's a lot of people who come in and say y'all need fucking mental help because they will never be real. Basically, trying to get us to come back to the real world. Well, here's a news flash for you fuckers. I just laid out how depressive and horrible it is for those of us down here, and y'all want to drag us away from a chance for us to be happy back to a world where we're gonna be just nothing but miserable. I didn't ask to be brought into this world. So if there's a chance for me to at least attain some kind of happiness, and because it's certainly as hell not gonna happen with an actual flesh and blood 3D, why should I not try to find happiness, with a caricature? And this is a lot of where, people say, oh, you're just deluded, you don't believe in reality, you're disgusting because you're not, grounded in reality like the rest of us. Well, again, here's another news flash. The people that are, I would say fully deluded are, again, a very small percentage. It's going back to our earlier discussion in regards to the fanatics. The people who are kind of that deluded, that so lost in their own fantasies is, again, very small. I mean, am I seeking happiness with, somebody who can't truly, love me in return? Well, no, I mean, I'm very much aware that it's just a bunch of data and it's all just running off scripts and whatnot. And I doubt anyone who, is a fan of any of the, the Doki girls, is the same. Like, we all understand, we all believe, but at the same time, we're looking for an answer to a question, even if it's just a band-aid, of just trying to make the world a little less bleak. And I mean, isn't that the whole fucking goal of the progressives anyway? They're talking a big game about how love trumps hate and all this bullshit and how everybody should be happy and everything. But in here they are trying to, tear us down and say, y'all need to come live in reality. Well, I'm looking at your reality, buddy. And it's a bleak world that I sure as hell don't want to live in. Because to me, it's, it's depressive, it's lonely, and honestly, that's pretty much the game that I feel the progressives are trying to do so. Now, it's always been said, that the progressive collectivist goal is to make everybody as miserable as they are. Like, they cannot afford anybody to be happier than they are. They have to tear everybody down so that everybody is equal. And in this case, equal happiness is actually equal unhappiness. So, because you can't be happy, that means I'm not allowed to be happy. I think that's an inequality I'm willing to live with. My personal happiness is my responsibility, and part of why I'm an individualist. If it makes me happy to live with, a fake caricature of somebody who cares about me, you know what, fuck it. At least I have someone who cares. And that makes me happy. And I don't see why I need to cater to your delusion of reality that everybody should be as equally unhappy as you. Fuck off and fuck you. Now, there is something to be said about, obsession, the collectivist hive mindset bringing certain things to fruition and whatnot, and everything else. There is kind of this underlying movement among males in the world right now, it's basically going to outmode the flesh and blood females at this point. Everyone's always talking about, just waiting for, the artificial womb and sex bots, and then we're going to pretty much outmode, 3D women, and everybody's going to get, somebody, and the world's going to be a happier place. Me? I'm a fan of that idea. If I could contribute to that kind of world, I think it's a good thing, because this makes me sound like a progressive, I suppose, when you look at it through the lens here of a world where everybody can be happy, but doing it in doing it to where everybody on an individual level can truly be happy. And, like, the way I am now, it's me in a romantic relationship, not gonna happen. Me, having a family and a house and all that fun stuff, that's fucking ideas, that I grew up with. Now, maybe, you want to sit there and you be like, dude, that's like an outmoded way of thinking. Nobody does that shit anymore. Well, why can't I try to bring that to bring it to life? Why can't I not work to create to make that dream a reality? Why not? Why? Well, I kind of half know the answer here. It's just when the values we have today were not the same values that I grew up with. Like, I was born in the very last gasps of the 80s, and so technically I'm a 90s kid. But because, I grew up, early 90s, that's kind of where they were playing like the 80s greatest hits and whatnot. And there was a lot of the ideals as they were transitioning from the 80s to the 90s. I kind of grew up on that kind of cusp. So it was like the influence and culture of the 90s didn't really solidify itself, I would say, maybe until about 97, I think. Like, that's when the culture of the 90s was really at its peak, because it had to redefine itself drastically different from how the 80s were. Like, a lot of the early 90s stuff was influenced from the 80s, and the 90s, the actual 90s era itself wasn't until like the late 90s where we really really defined itself. So I kind of grew up in that weird transition period. And the world then was very different from where it was today. And I still kind of carry some of those values with me because, I grew up with them. It's what I know. It's what I understand. And it kind of makes me feel like an old man, get off my fucking lawn, you kids. But those were the dreams I had growing up, that I lived in a normal family, with my two parents, my siblings and myself, so we were like a family of 5. We had the house, we had the pets. We were living kind of the suburbia lifestyle, and that's what I grew up with. That's what I'm comfortable with, and that's what I wanted in my life when I got older. And then this shit happened. And now, my own family got broken up, victim of the high divorce rates and whatnot. I couldn't stand the school system the way it went into, so that kind of went off the rails for me. My younger siblings, they had that kind of same traditional schooling, and they're honestly doing much better than I am, at least in life. My parents, they found other people, and they're fucking. They got remarried, they'll cohabitate and all that other stuff. One of my siblings got married, other one's in a relationship. I think he's on their second. But, when I compare myself to how they're doing and how they all kind of took the traditional route and how I was kind of very untraditional, unconventional, I kind of have to sit here and wonder where it is I went wrong in life. Because, I'm definitely worse off than they are. Me. Wow, this got depressed fast. All right. Well, I think that about does it all. So, again, if you like the content, share it. Don't just subscribe. Share it with people you know. Because that's going to be the big thing. Especially because one of the videos, it was very hilarious. Actually got age locked. If I'm looking at it right here now. Let's see. Yeah. The one video I'm talking about, cancel China, and oh yeah, remember #CancelChina, everybody, because China is fucking racist. That one got age restricted, probably because I was talking about COVID and all that other bullshit. So again, kind of rolling back onto the original topic itself. Will Monikins become the next Nazis? No. Specifically because, we're willing to call ourselves out. Is waifuism a total bad thing? Well, maybe we shouldn't have demonized men so much, and maybe you women should stop being so goddamn hypergamous that you let your fucking instincts rule over you and you only select the top tier men. I mean, because you're leaving a lot of us out in the cold, and it's your damn fault. We're having to pursue these alternate means to pursue our happiness. And I guess that's what I'm trying to do is trying to find what makes me happy and pursue it. And it's been a rough go at it. And that's probably another topic video for another time, Or otherwise, maybe I'm just screaming into the void about all of this and none of you give a fuck.